All right, it is 6:30. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do a roll call.
Christian. Here. Jeske.
Here.
Bowles. Here. Oster. Here. Souter. Whittington.
Here.
Halliday.
I think we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to share our mission statement as a board this evening. Paula, would you go ahead and read that for us this evening?
Sure. Our mission statement: providing an exceptional learning community which inspires the whole child through excellent instruction, every student, every classroom, every day.
Thank you. Looking for a motion and a support to approve the agenda as presented this evening. Motion by Christian, supported by Whittington. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call with not roll call. All those in favor with raised right hand, aye? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Looking for a motion and a support to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Make that motion.
Motion by Oster, supported by Christian. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor will raise right hand, aye? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 6, student and staff recognition.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to Brian Jeske, Ashley Bowles, and Jeff Goodman for being recognized at the RCCF 40 Under 40 event. It was quite an honor. You were all very deserving of this award and are great ambassadors for our school district and our community. So congrats. Big thanks to Kim Chinry for the hard work during this fall count window, your attention to detail, and helping the building secretaries properly account for all of the many variables that come into play during the count window is really first rate. I appreciate your hard work. We are about to be able to relax a little bit. So thanks for your diligence, Kim. I really appreciate it. Next, I want to thank Leanna Hartman for your great financial work this year. Later on in the agenda, we will be seeing and hearing a presentation from our auditor, Doug Dieter, who's in the back. Doug, thanks for being here tonight. I must say that the district would not be here, Leanna, where we are today without your diligent efforts. As we'll see later tonight, we're going to be adding a little over $1.6 million to the fund balance. So, and I really do appreciate all the work. And now I've got quite a large thank you and recognition. And so this one, when I call your name and the group, please maybe make a semicircle up there, because we're going to have a photo op here. Let me read this first, and then we'll get everybody up for the photo. I think that'll be easier. The next recognition really started with Larry Meyer. Raise your hand. Larry, when you came to see me and we started talking some months ago about all of the great things the Knights of Columbus have been doing over the years, we decided it would be very appropriate to get a group recognition not only for the Knights of Columbus and the hard work that you do, but some of the partner agencies as well. So this recognition is really for all of the Knights, the staff from St. Vincent de Paul, Ross County Food Bank. We also have, representing our bus drivers, Kara Wyrick in the back. She'll be up here in a moment. Collins Elementary Principal, Alicia Thompson. Collins Secretary, Colleen Goodman. And Ashley Jeske. Ashley is away at a conference right now, so she won't be able to get in the photo tonight. But we also have Julie McLean and Rose Frederick from the food pantry. So on behalf of all of our staff here in Houghton Lake Community Schools, Larry and the Knights of Columbus, St. Vincent de Paul, Ross County Food Bank, Clyde Straub, Carroll St. Louis, and all of the others in your organization, I really do want to thank you for everything you do each and every year to support our children in need. This goes way beyond just a coat drive. This includes the Knights of Columbus maintaining a $500 rolling balance in an account, which once it's drawn down at Collins, they replenish it every time. And so that account is there to help needy children with everything that they might need to be successful in school, whether it be a backpack or a coat or a pair of gloves or a pair of boots or other school supplies. And the Knights have just been tremendous in making sure that that money is always funded to take care of our children. They also work with supplying vouchers and helping out with emergency supplies for the home, and really do a nice job coordinating with other agencies like St. Vincent de Paul to help secure clothing and other items. And then they partner with the food bank to help students and families in need with additional food. Certainly as we're getting into colder weather, I heard the weatherman say that we might actually see a mixed bag tomorrow. That's the first time I'm hearing that. As we get into the colder climate, it warms my heart that you all are doing everything you're doing to help support our children and families, especially as we get into the colder weather. That is so important. It's important every month of the year, but as we get into the cold months, it really is even more important. So if I called your name, would you please come forward? Let's get up here and get a nice photo while I present this certificate of recognition. Larry, I'm gonna let you hold this. You kicked this whole thing off, so you get to hold this. Come on up here. We'll get everybody in.
Just to let everybody know, what this started with the Holden Lake Schools asking for help. And what we were trying to really do is help kids immediately. So everything that this group has put together, and through the school working together, we were able to accomplish, as the superintendent indicated, money for the kids right there. The teachers just get together, ask, and it's that day. They have their pencils, whatever's necessary. The alternative ed people and other people in the school, all they have to do is ask, and the food bank, it's there. Right there, today, not next week or whatever. And the fun one that we put together with the school was the clothing. And what we did there is a teacher sees a student needs whatever, pair of shoes, coat, whatever. They immediately go to Ashley. She makes a call to St. Vinny's, and bam, the name goes on, the building that it needs to get to, and then the school bus drivers on their own pick up the material, and it is delivered to that kid that day. So this is what your organizations here put together with the leadership from the KSC. And for the people, anybody wants to donate any money to this program, just send a letter to the Holden Lake Schools /KSC, and it will be in that account, and it is audited. So again, thanks from the community for helping kids.
Big smile, everybody.
Yes?
Amy Dwyer.
Sorry.
Dwyer, D-W-Y-E-R. Yes.
Larry Meyer, M-E-I-E-R.
Got a copy of what
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your student staff recognition.
That's it.
All right.
Finished on the big one.
All right. That brings us to number 7, public comments. Go ahead, we've got several here tonight, so I'll go ahead and read our disclaimer here. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that in your statements, if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you are about to say, we urge you to consult first with your legal advisor. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons wishing to speak on the same topic shall appoint one person to present their views to the board. I'm going to expand on that a little bit tonight too, because there's a little bit of confusion here and there. We get a lot of public comments coming in. This is a regular board meeting where we conduct a lot of business after the public comment section of that meeting. This is not a public forum where there's banter back and forth throughout the meeting. I just want to clarify that because sometimes it's not always clear. So this is your time to make public comments. Feel free to do so. If you'd like a follow-up to any questions or concerns you have on your public comment form, there's a little checkbox to just say, I'd like to hear back from you after the public comment, or after the meeting. So, any questions from anybody? We'll start things off with Frank Peschik.
Right here? Right here? Okay. Start as an introduction, my name is Frank Peschik. As I explained to some young students,
One
get your
second,
finger
Frank.
up.
All right, your timer's going, Frank. Sorry
Okay,
about
my
that.
time is up.
Yeah.
Kick me, Wade, if I get a little long. As I was meeting some young students last year, I explained that I graduated from Houghton Lake High School 25 years before the turn of the century, 3/4 of the way through, 50 years ago, but to make it brief. But I also served for 9 years on this school board. So my reason to address the board today is about board work, boardmanship, and I can just speak from experience. Slow down. Dale Carnegie says if you're speaking too fast, if you're speaking too slow, you're speaking just right. Slow down. I support public education. Publication for all children that come to the door. My grandmother comes from a generation where they wouldn't let her shoot her foul shots like this. She had to shoot them like this. And Title IX is as old as the day as we try to eliminate discrimination for all children that come to the door. So if someone has a problem with Title IX, this is a school board that has to do with the budgets and policies of the District of Houghton Lake Schools. Federal mandates come down, and it's a percentage of budget, and you choose to ignore those mandates, then you put your school district at risk. You are a trustee. You're voted to be entrusted with the values of this district. And I support this board and what they're doing, and I also know it because I've been on both sides of an issue. The motion is called, the vote is taken, and when it is approved, it's up to the board then to support the policies, the missions of that board. If you have a problem with it, there is a voting process. You get elected to serve on the school board. Or, better yet, if you got a problem with the policy above the school board, call your legislator. It's not up to this board to change federal policy. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. Go Bobcats.
Thank you, Frank. Next up, we got Jeff Goodwin.
I am just here to address a statement that was made at the September 3rd board meeting regarding a situation that will not take place at Houghton High School. I don't want to get into all the talking about the misinformation, the things that have been said about people on both sides of this particular argument. I hope that we start healing as a community in that regard. But there was an allegation made at that board meeting on September 30th that a student was sexually assaulted in the bathroom of Houghton Community Schools. It is patently false. It is 100% incorrect. It is not accurate. I have an officer here from the Westmoreland County Sheriff's Office who can verify that that did not happen. And so it's very important. I love public comment. I love us being able to make those statements. But the aftermath of this meeting is me feeling calls from the community at a very high volume, wondering why when sexual assault took place in our bathroom, they were not made aware of it. They weren't made aware of it because it didn't happen. did not happen. Okay, so I want to be so clear one more time, thank you, Mr. Tyler Brown, and putting in the quotes, it did not happen. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Up next, we've got Cindy.
Hi, everybody. Hey, I just was wondering when this board ever does answer questions. I know you say this isn't the forum for it, it's not the time, but I think the reason why a lot of parents and grandparents, because I'm a grandparent, have a problem with Title IX is because you guys never had a meeting with these parents, you never sat down with them. We never told them, hey, this is what's going to happen, this is what potentially could happen, this is how we're going to deal with it when it does happen. And you guys think that we don't have a right to be upset. I'm all for supporting the school. My kids have been in public school. My grandkids are in, some of them are in public school, some of them are not because of this. Because their parents don't feel that they're safe. And I was wondering if a biological boy, and I'm not targeting, I'm just going to use a biological boy. Could be a biological girl. Because you did pass it. So what happens if a biological boy says, I am going to use the girls' bathroom? You say you have separate bathrooms, but I don't believe that you're going to enforce that they have to strictly use that because that would be discrimination from what I've researched and talked to people about. So how are you going to protect these kids if something does happen? What is your plan and why aren't you sitting these parents down and having an open mic conversation and answering us? To me, it's just a slap in the face that you guys won't answer us. You guys sit up there, very smug, you're always smiling.
That's,
This is
please don't attack the
serious.
board members like
I'm
that.
not, I'm just saying.
That was a
that's
very
how she
targeted
makes me
insult.
feel.
I'm gonna pause the time. That was a
That's
very
fine, go ahead.
targeted insult. Please don't
Well,
do
I'm
that.
insulted by her smugness.
That's okay.
This is a
That's fine.
serious matter.
Okay. You can continue. You still got a minute and 20 seconds if you'd like it.
Me?
Yeah.
I just would like some answers, that's all, and I know a lot of parents really do too. It's not that, I'm not a transphobia, I'm not a gay phobia, I have friends that are both. But there's a time and place for it. I think that the school board, for the most part, you guys have a tough job. You guys did not have, you could have tabled that, and you should have, until you talked to the parents and gave us some straight, honest answers. That did not have to pass them. It's in the Supreme Court right now. They could come back and say, no, we're yanking it. Just some answers, you guys, that's all I'm asking. Transparency, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sabrina.
Well, I'm obviously firmly opposed to the new revisions of Title IX. So this is really for Kelly and Brian. So members running for re-election, we want to publicly invite you to our candidate forum on the 21st at 6 p.m. It's at 2563 South Glavin Road in the Stone Hall building, next to Secretary of State. Your presence and participation are crucial for fostering open dialogue within our community. We recognize the hard work and dedication you have shown in your roles, but it is essential to remember that support is not an assumption. It must be earned. Our community has faced challenges, particularly regarding the best interests of our children. It's imperative that we acknowledge these concerns together. At this forum, you have the opportunity to listen to the voices of community members, address their worries, and showcase your commitment to our town's future. You will also have the chance to meet the write-in candidate, Terrence Carter. This event is not just a formality. It is a chance for you to demonstrate why you deserve our trust and our votes. Engaging with us directly shows that you value our perspectives and are willing to work collaboratively for the betterment of our community. We want to see tangible plans and heartfelt dedication to our children's well-being. We urge you to embrace this opportunity to connect with us, earn our support, and reaffirm your commitment to the values we hold dear. We look forward to seeing you there and hearing your vision for our shared future.
Thank you. Gary Long. Start your timer here, Gary. Good to go.
My name's Gary Lon. I was here before to talk about Merritt School property, which probably a lot of you don't even know where it is, out in Saukey County. And Hayward Sawmill did an even age management for 21 acres there. And 7 acres of thin pine. And I'm just wondering when you plan on having it replanted. It was planted originally in 1943 during World War II. And I live a half mile north of there, exactly. And I'm a procurement forester, or consulting forester, and I gotta see that open area all the time. Which is not bad because trees are a crop and need to be turned over, but they need to be replanted. And I suggest planting 7 by 8 or 60 square feet between seedlings. That should do well. If you ever have the property here forested, you should have a consulting forester because he's a professional that works for you. And I have a file here of the 6 or 7 sales that I did as a consulting forester, dealing with John Walkley, James French, Greg McMillan, just to speak of a few. And it seems like you go through superintendents quite a bit here. I'm not condemning that. It's almost like you go through superintendents like the Detroit Lions went through head coaches until Dan Campbell. I'm retired. I don't want to do it anymore, but appreciate it. And all I know is 2 people here, George, Brian, and Doug Martin. I'm done.
Thank you, Gary.
Yep.
Let me help. All right, George.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
like to say I virtually don't have any opinion on Title IX, but I do, I'm not really involved because my kids have been graduated for quite a number of years. But just sitting here today, I get an overwhelming sense of competency from the board, from the administrators that were just here. The police officer this year, I witnessed his interaction with the children. As a lifelong resident of Houghton Lake, I'm comforted by the way you guys handle things. And I'd just like you to know that at any time, my support is available. I've been here since 1960. I lived my whole life here. I'm warm now because of what I've witnessed this evening. So continue the good work. Don't let anybody bring you down. And as far as the superintendent, I think Houghton Lake is a acquired taste, we'll say. It's not without its controversy. It's not without its problems. But I'm comforted, really, by what I just witnessed here tonight. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, George. All right, and lastly, we've got Colleen Goodwin.
Hi. I'm a secretary over at Collins Elementary, but mostly I'm just speaking as a mother and grandmother. And as a student here formerly, I've been here since 1972. Houghton Lake Community Schools has been a really good home for me, for my children, and my grandchildren. It is a snapshot of the whole community and how we come together as a community. It's not without its growing pains or its arguments, but I just wanted to offer support. I'm inside a little bit too. A lot of things over the last few years, what we've overcome, what we're still working on overcoming, and I am heartened by what I've seen and wanted to offer that support and the support of the board. I know that some decisions that have been happening recently have been really difficult, and you've had to really think hard, probably pray hard for all of those, for and against different things that have been going on. And I feel confident that we will get to where we need to be and we will provide for our kids. Our kids are the future. But school starts in teaching our kids how to be the future. And the future is different than what it used to be. We have to figure out how to navigate that. I think that we'll do a good job doing it, but we do need to look at all the sites and we'll come to a decision. And I want to say confidently, I believe that we try with every ounce that we have to make sure that our kids are safe and that they are in a good learning environment and that they will one day stand like I am with their kids and their grandkids.
Thank you, Colin. That was the last public comment forum I had. Does anybody else want to make public comment this evening? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on to the audit presentation from Raymond.
Doug, welcome back. Can't believe another 12 months have passed, right? Kind of amazing. Quickly. You haven't aged at all. Well done. Can't say the same. For those who haven't met Doug, Doug's our chief auditor. He sent a great team again this year to audit the books, and he's here to tell us all about it. So, Doug, thank you.
I appreciate that, Ben. I'd like to start off just reinforcing what Ben said earlier. You know, we started working with the district several years ago, and they're in a significantly different position than they are today. Much improved, and like Ben said, a lot of it has to do with Leanna. Her great work in the finance department there to ensure things are accounted for correctly. The first year we did this audit, it was, let's just say, miserable for us because it was such a mess. And this year, I mean, things just went so smoothly. I hope Leanne thinks the same thing. Very clean records, things in very good shape, and so huge improvements over the years. And you'll see that in some of the numbers here that I'm going to show you as well. So, good job. There we go. So we did issue the financial statement audit last week, and we issued what's called an unmodified opinion, and that's our what you see there, the financial statements. Those are provided by the district. Those are all the district numbers. Our job is to come in and audit those numbers to make sure that they're correct and appropriate and represented correctly in the financial statements. So, an unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance we as independent auditors can provide that those numbers are clear, accurate, and presented the way they should be presented. So it's the same opinion that the district has received over the years. And again, it's the highest level of assurance we can provide that the numbers are correct. So to start off, we're going to look at the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district. Ending fund balance, this is as of June 30, 2024, which is the district's fiscal year end. The ending fund balance of the general fund is $6,450,000. As Ben mentioned earlier, that is an increase of $1,675,000 from the prior year. So a nice increase in the fund balance. One measure that we look at, as well as the MSBO, which is the Michigan School Board organization, or Business Officers Organization, is how much fund balance do you have to cover 1 year's expenditures? So if no more money ever came in, how long could the district operate? We know that's not the case, but it gives you an idea of how healthy the district is. So at June 30, 2024, the district's fund balance was about 35% of 1 year's expenditures, which is about a 6% increase in the prior year. And the MSBO has a recommendation about 15 to 20%. So you're a little bit above that. But again, as you'll see on a future slide, the district's come a long ways, and they're getting into a good situation. They've been able to do a lot of projects to improve the facilities and that type of thing. So this might be a little hard to see. The board does have this printed in front of you. This might be hard to see on the screen, but this graph shows the general fund expenditures broken down into the main categories. You have your basic programs, pupil services, added needs, operation maintenance, school administration, and capital outlay. So if you were to look at this pie chart in the prior year, it's going to look pretty similar. One significant change this year was the green box, or the green pie shape you see there is your capital outlay. Had a pretty significant increase in capital outlay this year. We'll see that on a future slide, but that's all the great projects that the district has been able to do to improve the facilities, make sure the proper equipment is in place, and that type of thing. So that green pie got a little bit bigger, that means the other ones got just a little bit smaller. It doesn't mean you spent less on the other categories, it just means that the ratio has changed a little bit. So this one breaks that same pie into a different bucket of salaries, which is this blue here, benefits, and then other. So you've got about 64%, if my math works right, that is salary and benefits. So that is a little bit lower than what most districts see, but again, as I mentioned, that gray pie is bigger this year because of all that capital outlay. So your salaries and benefits haven't gone down, just gone down as a percent of your total expenditures this year due to the capital outlay and projects that we've had. General fund revenue for the last 4 years, you can see you've seen some nice increases each year. You can see in 2023 and 2024 pretty significant increases. You know, that has to do with the COVID funding, the ESSER funding that the district has been spending for the last couple of years. So you can see total revenues for 2024 was $20,791,000, about $2.6 million over 2023. Most of that has to do with the ESSER funding that was spent during the year as well. So when I say spend, as you spend the ESSER revenue, create the expenditures, you recognize the revenue. So they kind of go hand in hand. So you see the increased expenses, that means you have increased revenues, which you're going to see on this page as well. I'm sorry, I had that backwards. The revenues now the expenditures, sorry. But you see they kind of correlate. So the expenditures have been going up as well. You had significant capital outlay with ESSER funds in 2023, even more in 2024, and now your total expenditures are $18,691,000 this year. So as I mentioned earlier, the general fund balance, back in 2021, you can see there was just $1 million, which is under 8% of 1 year's expenditures. As I mentioned, now the fund balance is at $6.4 million, and you're at almost 34.5% of 1 year's expenditures. So, you know, this is risky here because you don't have much cushion to offset any flows of delays in revenue or anything like that. So now that you have the cushion of fund balance, you can do the projects that you're working on and improving the area for the students. General fund revenues budget to actual. So this is the three main categories. You have the final budget. So this is after all amendments were made by the board. Total revenue was expected at $20,395,000. Actual came in of almost $400,000 more than that at $20,791,000. So a couple large swings. The federal, as I mentioned earlier, was almost $5.2 million, and almost $2 million extra this year in federal dollars due to the spending of the ESSER funds. You can see the increase in state sources. They increased your per pupil allocation that you got, and then also the local sources, about just over $1 million more in property taxes collected. And you see that each year as property values go up, you see more tax revenues. General fund expenditures, budget actual, broken down into three main categories with an other. As you can see there, budgeted was $18,983,000. Actual committed of just under $300,000 less at $18,691,000. Instruction, as it should be, is your largest category of almost $8.4 million, followed by supporting services. And this year, as I mentioned, almost $2 million extra in capital outlay to make that $3 million this year. The MIPSers, net pension liabilities. So the district participates, as do all the other school districts in Michigan, with the state-sponsored pension plan. This gives you about a 10-year history of what that net pension liability looks like. So the net pension liability is that the MIPSers hires an actuary to determine what your total liability is, or the total liability of the plan, and then it gets allocated to each district based on staffing levels and some other criteria. So the total liability is then offset by investments that MIPSer has to go towards that total liability, and the difference is what's called the net pension liability. So the net pension liability, or the unfunded portion for the Houghton Lake schools, is $19.2 million, down from just over $23 million in the prior year. And as you can see, it has come down but it's above 2022. This is measured as of September of every year, because that's MIPSR's fiscal year end, so that's when we measure this. And the stock market really plays a role in this. So depending on where the stock market is at September 30 of every year, it helps reduce this liability if the market is up. So the 2023 valuation of the stock market was down. You can see the change from 2022 to 2023. Stock market was down, so the liability goes up. And then 2024, the stock market has gone up again, the liability has come down. So it's a direct relationship between the two. There are some other things that play into that, obviously, but that's one of the largest drivers of the stock market. This is the retiree healthcare. In the history of that, you can see that has consistently come down. MIPSR's has made some significant changes in its plan to help bring this down. And then as well, the stock market plays in this also. So you can see there in 2024, the blue is actually below the line. So what that means is the district was allocated what's called a net OPEB asset. So the plan is overfunded at MIPSR's. So there's more investments at MIPSR's than what they're projecting the liability to be at this point in time. Again, that's going to fluctuate year to year depending on where the stock market is. So some good news on this plan that it's so well funded. I know MIPSR's has been working on contribution levels and that type of thing to help get this plan funded as well as the pension. So that's some good news in relation to this. So in addition to the financial statement audit, we also did what's called a single audit. This is required whenever an entity expends more than $750,000 in federal awards. This is different than a financial statement audit. This looks at the compliance side of things. So the federal government says, here's a bucket of money, you go spend it on these certain items. The federal government wants reassurance from the auditors that you guys spent it as the grant agreement said you could spend it. So we did this audit in conjunction with the financial statement audit. You can see there the district expended $6.7 million. Again, it's a couple of $1 million more than the prior year due to the ESSER funds, which you see here was total $4,353,000 during the year. And then, which was a major program we audited. We also audited the child nutrition cluster, which is your hot lunch food service program. And that had just under $1 million in federal revenue. So we did provide an unmodified opinion. So the same opinion on the financial statements we're providing here, but this is on compliance, which means the district complied with all the requirements the federal government put in place for these funds and spent them as intended. We didn't have any findings or question costs related to compliance, which means, again, very clean audit from the federal award perspective. As we do the financial statement audit, we do look at the internal control processes of the district, and we provide suggestions for improvements, if you will. And so one of the biggest internal control is your checks and balances, right? You got one person doing the work, you got another person reviewing it, and there's documentation of that to support that it was done. And so there were some items that we came across that didn't have that. And as I mentioned, huge improvements over the last few years. This is the only one left. If you go back several years ago, we had a list of these, I believe, if I remember correctly. So the district's made huge strides in cleaning up and correcting anything we found in the audit. And I really expect that this will probably be done next year with the changes that have already been made. So again, it's that checks and balances we want to make sure is in place to ensure that things are accounted for correctly, things are spent as they should be in that day. That's all I had to cover, but I'm happy to address any questions or comments that you might have.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug from the board? Thank you, Doug.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to reports. We got superintendent reports.
All right, so I'll pick it up where Doug just left off with a quick audit update. Just again, a big thank you to everyone involved. That includes all of our secretaries, our administrators, and Leanna for making sure purchases are allocated to the correct funding code. Really nice to add a little over $1.6 million to the fund balance. but not at the expense of repairs. So we were able to add that money while also doing the repairs. That's huge. But the fund balance will help us towards ensuring an even more stable future than we have now. And it also helps protect the district in years like this one, where we don't have an increase to per pupil funding. So this year there was zero increase in the amount of money that the district gets per child. So of course, having a fund balance that's as handsome as this is good for the lean years as well. Now that this audit's complete, at our next meeting, Leanna and I will have a recommendation you'll see on an agenda to recommend transferring additional money into the capital projects account. This is something I mentioned in the last weekly update. I think I mentioned it the last meeting or two. Be nice to build that account up as well, because right now that is our projects account. We have fully expensed out the ESSER money, and so now it's own money we built up in the fund balance. So very excited about that. Yesterday afternoon, if you were not at the Limberlost, I do not know where you were. It was such a heartwarming event to go and have a celebration of life for Tommy Niekamp. It really did look like the entire town was there. I parked way back almost by the south side goalpost. The parking was wrapped all the way around our drive. People, playing Dodger, running across 55 to get there. Fortunately, everybody made it safely. And just such a heartfelt level of support from this whole community for Tommy's mom and dad, his brother Jacob. It certainly doesn't remove the grief that the family's suffering, but for everybody that was able to be there and be part of that and supporting them during this time, I know they appreciate it. We did come together very strongly as a community, so thank you all for being part of that. Last up on my update, I met last week with a representative from Spicer's, our neighbor right down the road here. They have approached us with interest in purchasing 5 acres from the district. They are interested in a long, thin strip of 5 acres that has a little bit of 55 road frontage, but primarily is the woods. So if you're envisioning sitting in the home side bleachers at a ball game and you're looking at that expanse of woods on the back side of our exit drive, they're interested in purchasing that strip from 55 all the way back behind the student parking lot. Currently, if you've driven around Spicer's and you've seen the neighborhood to one side, you've seen the resorter building to one side, state land is behind them, we're their neighbor on this side, they're landlocked. And they're looking for additional room for storage, additional storage barns, an additional location for trucks to drop off boats, drop off side-by-sides. Currently, their 18-wheelers have to pull in their one main drive and then back up to drop off, so they're interested in more space. And for the district, this has been part of our rectangle here as part of our main property far longer than I know, because I've only been here starting 5 years. I did confirm for the board's purpose that it is allowable to sell a portion of your land that you're not needing. So unlike what Mr. Long, the forester, was talking about earlier, we remember we did a logging project out on the 120 acres that we own out in Merritt. We are not allowed to sell any of that land because that was part of the original land grant back when northern districts like ours received forests to log the forest to then fire the wood-fired boilers. So obviously that was 100 years or more ago. Nobody has wood-fired boilers. But all the school districts up here own forests, including us. And so we've used it historically as 4th grade camp, and we've done science field trips out there. So we were able to sell a thinning cut and a clear cut to generate about $70,000 earlier in the year from that property. So that cannot be sold. But this strip that we've been approached by could be sold. Doesn't mean you have to sell. And so when I was approached by the individual representing Spicer's, I said, I can't speak for the board because I haven't had a chance to bring this to the board's attention. I said, but currently, the district isn't motivated to sell this. This is just part of our property. I did verify though that if the board had interest, the board could sell it. I'm going to share with you the policy that governs this. This policy 7300, it's a pretty short one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is disposition of real property. And basically it says the board shall direct a periodic review of all district property and authorize the disposition by sale, donation, trade, or discard of any property not required for school purposes in accordance with the provisions of this policy and 7310. The board must approve the terms of any sale, lease, or disposition of real property. Letter A is the one, I'm not going to read them all, but that's the one that applies here. All written offers on real property under consideration for disposition shall be presented as an item on an agenda at a public board meeting. So, the first thing I wanted to do when approached by the representative last week was just make the call to the attorney to figure out the legalities of what this might look like, double check the policy language, and then bring it to the board. So this is really just my sharing it. Of course, it's not on your agenda for an action item for a vote, but if it's the will of the board, I can bring the representative to a board meeting to speak and further elaborate about the interest of her client. But in order for the board to entertain anything, you would have to receive a written proposal, either in the form of a written offer or a written purchase contract for that property. I did some preliminary checking. Thank you, Ashley, for helping me with this. There's not a lot of 5-acre parcels of commercial property for sale on 55, so it's kind of hard to get a comp. But there are some smaller parcels that kind of fit the bill, and some 1 to 2 acre pieces have sold for about 45 to 55,000. So you do the math on that, 20, 25,000 an acre-ish. Of course, it's going to go up if there's 55 road frontage. It's going to go down the further back you get. So what was shared with me was that Spicer's is interested in expanding their current showroom, which would grow towards our drive a little bit. The original showroom that's right on 55, they're interested in building that out. In addition, additional storage barns, boat wrapping facilities, but probably more importantly, creating a new entry drive that would go all the way down and around back, allowing them to kind of create what we have. So we have a one-way entry drive in that drops off in front of junior, senior high and then goes out the other way. They don't. They've got one in and out, and I think what they're envisioning as part of this thin strip, if the board wanted to sell it, is in addition to an expanded showroom and additional storage, a long, thin entry drive, go around back, drop off, unload, and then come on out. So that is, it sounds like their interest, but there may be other interests. I don't want to misspeak. So if the board is interested, I can invite the rep to a meeting in the near future. So that is my superintendent update.
Would you like consensus on that one?
Sure.
What do you think?
We're talking purifying all the streets is essentially what we have in place, right? I mean, getting information isn't a commitment to anything.
Right. At least have them come and hear them out and see what the proposal is. Okay.
Yeah, and just to reassure the board, I did let the representative know the district's not motivated to sell. This is, I even said from sitting in our home stands, looking out at a ball game, we're looking at, if you look slightly to your left, you're high enough, you can see the lake. And then if you look straight ahead, you see these beautiful woods all the way down. It would be kind of hard to trade that view for blue wrapped boats. I think I said it that way. The individual reassured me that they would, if this deal were to go through, erect a tall enough fence with like a green vinyl mesh or something, Bobcat themed, you know, as a nice visual barrier. You know, because obviously right now we have a beautiful view of woods, and you know, so that would be something the board would want to take into consideration. But you know, like you said, it doesn't hurt to gather information and at least hear it out. So I will arrange that in the near future.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Any questions on the superintendent report? Okay, hearing none, we go to finance report.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone that has helped me in making this audit so successful. And certainly Kim and Robin in the business department and the secretaries at the other buildings have all worked really hard this year to to get where we're at. So I do appreciate the support that you give me.
Thank you. Right, that brings us to action items. Action item A, looking for a motion of support to approve Lewis Brothers quote for a new compressor for walk-in freezer at Collins, the amount of $7,823 out of food service budget.
Motion.
Motion by Oster, your support?
Support.
Supported by Bowles. Ben, you want to touch on this one, Chuck?
Yeah, this is kind of an urgent thing, which is why you see one quote, not three. This company is the vendor we work with for repairs. This item went down last week. Good timing. It's never good for one of your two freezers to go down, but here we are at a board meeting. It was above the $5,000 threshold that I could pull the trigger on and just fix. So that's why you see it before you. Currently, we have one of two freezers working at Collins. This action item would generate the approval to repair it.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Oster,
Yes.
Halliday, Bowles,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Cheski,
Yes.
Souter, Christian,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries 5-0. That was the only action item we have. We have discussion on the agenda. Anybody have any discussion topics this evening?
Okay. I think it's that time of year again, where Paula usually brings it up, but at this time, to start discussing sponsoring a family for Christmas if we're interested in continuing the tradition of doing so. So continue that.
I think that's all, something we all like to know.
Yep.
Yep. Just rely on the admin team and everybody to
Yep.
set us up, and we can discuss an amount, or, we typically
Yeah,
just
we
give
usually
you
just
a
kind of
list.
get a list and
Yeah.
go from there.
Alright, sounds good, we'll get the ball rolling on that one. Paul, you had something?
Yeah, I'd like to add my thanks to the superintendent and the staff for the unmodified opinion on the audit. It's not sexy, but it's pretty exciting. Excellent accounting practices has been a long-standing board goal, and it's an important factor in keeping our district safe. And emphasizing that how important it is. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I have some discussion tonight. I think it's safe to say it's been a hard couple weeks for everybody, from us on the board to our administrators, our superintendent, to our community members, to our students. One of the first things we learn when we come in as a board, we do new member orientation, is we talk about how a 7-person board is dynamic and able to make these kinds of decisions because we're 7 different people that come from 7 different walks of life, 7 different belief systems, 7 different backgrounds, 7 different everything. So we learn that right off the bat, and it is completely normal, and it is okay for us not to agree on everything. Disagreement is okay. Dysfunction and coming apart is not. we need to continue to work together for the better of this district. We need to have one mind, and that mind is on our students, and that's how we should conduct business here. That's how we should look and do our job. With that being said, we have the strategic plan updates coming up. We're going to be looking at which direction we're going to go for the next several years as a district, what we want to see done, how we want to operate, what we want to do as a district and as a board. Now, I did ask Ben and Kim to print copies of our board operating procedures and our board code of conduct. Now, I'm not going to go over these tonight, but I feel like it's a good time for everybody to review the lists, look at the information on them. And these are public documents, anybody can get them online. They're right on our website. We'll be getting them to Chauncey and Mark too, and be pulling them in on this discussion as well, since they're not here tonight. Just ask the board to review these documents, review what goes into our decision making, review what goes into the job that we're doing here on board, and make sure that one of the other things right off the bat that MASB and whoever is organizing our new member orientation asks us is what our why is for being on the board. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? So just to make sure that our why we're sitting at this board and at this table still aligns with what's in our code of conduct and our policies and our operating procedures. I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job as president if I didn't address this and talk about it and open the discussion for this. We don't have to have a lengthy discussion about it tonight, but it's just something that I would really like you to look at and review during your time and think about why we're here for Houghton Lake Community Schools. That's all I have.
That was very well said. For giving time for this information.
Yes. Any other discussion tonight? Hearing none, we got some dates on our board calendar. November and December coming up. Upcoming student events. And if there's nothing else, we are adjourned at 7:29. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.